Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask at this point because I feel like every time we talk, what's the candy jar situation in the office right now? You're coming off Halloween here. We've turned holiday seasons. Where are we at?
I was just asked yesterday by your father. It's a little mixture of some Halloween candy. I'm looking right behind. We do have candy corn, which I hear you're a fan of, but I
Big
have to
time.
mix. I have to mix candy corn and M&Ms or candy corn and peanuts. Like I can't do it by itself. And then we got some. I always got my Starburst and Jolly Ranchers, a couple rich people chocolate, and then it looks like some Sour Patch Kids over there. So a little bit of everything, man.
Hey, listen, Coach. You've said in a lot of aspects this season, consistency and adhering to the process. So I feel like if the rich people chocolate all of a sudden left, I'd be very worried about you.
I'll keep that here for you and Smitty. She's a huge fan, so when she comes up here, we'll make sure we keep that for her.
Now, Coach, you mentioned you got the candy corn in there, which I appreciate. I am a candy corn purist, which I know makes me a little bit of a weirdo, but everyone's got their thing. I was wondering for you, have you started decorating? Like, do you guys and your family start to throw up holiday decorations now? Are you a big Thanksgiving guy? Like, where do you fall on the holiday lines of demarcation here?
You know what? We're a Halloween, and then we kind of get into Christmas, which I know is a huge no-no. You can't skip over Thanksgiving, but we don't do Thanksgiving decorations. It's like Halloween candy, and we had Halloween decorations in here, and then my wife came in here the other day and took down the decorations but kept the candy. And I think the next year you'll look up and there'll be Christmas decorations all over this place.
See, Coach, I'm with you on that. I'm a guy that thinks once you hit November after Halloween, you can start to throw the Christmas stuff up because, and for you, Coach, you've been in football a long time as a player and now as a coach. I feel like the relationship with Thanksgiving is a little bit different as a football player and a football coach because you're usually always working, you're kind of around the team, and it's a day. It's not a holiday season. It's just a day.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely celebrate Thanksgiving Day, but as you said, that's usually just a day and a meal. We're usually practicing that morning. We'll have a Thanksgiving meal together, and then here at Notre Dame, we're flying out on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, that's true. You guys get set to head out to Southern Cal. So, all right, Coach, nice to meet a like-minded individual on the Christmas decoration front here. It's always good to meet people that understand the finer things in life. But, Coach, walk me through how you're feeling right now, coming off the biggest win of your tenure here as a head coach this past weekend against Clemson. What's it been like in the couple days since?
Well, the reality is wins are short-lived around here, and we're getting ready for a Navy team and a triple option and a completely different offense. As I think back to Saturday, what a special night. It was really an unbelievable experience. You're really happy with the way your team played. We really played well in all three phases. And then to do it at home, to do it against a team like Clemson and to have your fans rush the field, it was an extremely special night that you wish you would appreciate it more than bottle it up. But, as I said, wins are short-lived. Losses seem like they last forever around here, but wins are short-lived, and we got to move forward for Navy.
Coach, had you been a part of a field storming before? Had you been as a player or a coach where the field had been stormed?
You know what? I was asking Laurinaitis, who I played with at college, about that. He said the '06 game, Ohio State-Michigan, was 1 versus 2, and they stormed the field. I don't remember that as a player. I remember being a recruit at Ohio State in 2002, and they beat Michigan to go to the national championship, and I remember storming the field, kind of storming the field, kind of saying like, what the heck's going on? But nothing was like, obviously, that moment this past Saturday. That was unique and one that's just you'll remember forever.
Did you see anything wild when you were down there on the field? I'm sure it felt like stuff was coming at you 1,000 miles an hour. You got fans in the interview with you. Was there anything that stuck out to you as far as what you saw from the fans on the field?
Well, I remember the police were saying, hey, they're going to storm the field. And I'm like, okay, all right, it isn't a big deal. And we run in the middle of the field, and I can see the fans a little bit, talk to Coach Sweeney for a while, and then we're getting ready to do the interview, and I can just feel people pushing. And I there's a little delay before the interview starts, and I'm like yelling at kids, like, get back, and nobody's listening. And then we do the interview, which was awesome. And then as we're getting finished with the interview, I'm like, I tell the police, I said, let's enjoy this. I want to stay down here. Let's go sing the alma mater. They're like, no, we need to get out. Like, let's sing. Let's go over and sing the alma mater. About halfway through it, I'm like, get me out of here. And I'm like holding on to the belt of the police officer, and they're pushing people trying to get me out of there. And it can be kind of scary, even for a guy like me with police security, man. It became a little bit claustrophobic, but I couldn't imagine if I was just out there with no help, man. It can be a little wild. And it took forever for our players to get back into the locker room, forever.
Who was the last guy back in the locker room after all that? Who was out celebrating the win the hardest?
Well, the one I noticed was Ben Morrison, because usually after games I call up one guy on offense and one guy on defense, and we called up Michael Mayer, and he said a couple words, and I'm like, let's bring up the young guy, Benjamin Morrison, and everybody's looking around, and he's nowhere to be found, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to get into the prayer, and next thing you know, we're about to go into the prayer. Here he comes walking in, and I'll start ripping his tail right in the middle of the locker room, like, we're waiting on you, and this is your moment. But it was those are things that are really cool, man, and I'm sure he was on cloud nine.
I can't even imagine. And there was a lot of stuff like that to celebrate. Benjamin, like you said, was incredible. Michael has another record-setting performance. I know for you, as soon as the game was over, saw a lot being made. You're a football guy. You go and start grinding the tape right away. You want to go back and watch all that. So as you're sitting there in that dark room watching tape after the game, what jumped out to you as far as the things you really liked and saw from your team on that second watch after you had just gone through it live?
Yeah, it was. It took a little while. My wife came up with the kids, and I think she wanted to celebrate and hang out a little bit. And I told her, "Hey, you got to get the kids out of here, and I need to kind of watch them film. And really, the quicker I can watch this film, the quicker I can get home, and then we can celebrate at home." But watching it, the things on offense that I really liked is that I think we only have 1 3-and-out. And the ability to sustain drives and to run the ball and really control the tempo and the time management of the game was huge. And that's something that we knew going into the game we had to do. Defensively, we challenged our guys defensively. We had to be able to stop the runs or the quick passing game on the perimeter. And I loved what I saw early in the game from our defense and stopping the perimeter offense that they had. And then obviously the punt block to start it off, that was huge. That was a huge play for us. And the sustained urgency that we had, like that was a challenge. I didn't want urgency to start the game. It was endless urgency. It never stopped. And I thought until the final, moments ticked down that our team and our program played with urgency.
It was really impressive. By the way, you mentioned the punt block. What's Brian Mason feeding those kids over there in the special teams room? 6 punt blocks on the year now. It's been a weapon. Like, how has that become something that's so consistent? I feel like we can count on something game-changing in special teams almost every week from you guys.
Yeah, people would think that you got 6 punt blocks like you're bringing the house, and we don't. We try to match the number of guys they have protecting the punter with rushers and find different ways to get those guys back to those guys that are protecting the punter. But then once you're back there, it's about execution. The punt block we had, they had 3 guys protecting, we had 3 guys rushing, but our guys were able to execute and find the little gaps that are back there and get their hands on the ball. But I think he must be having something going on outside the meetings that I'm in where these guys must be getting food or something. I don't know what it is, but they're hungry because we've had a couple guys block multiple punts. It's not the same guy. It's a couple guys that are blocking punts, and I think it's a challenge and a competition within that punt block unit.
There we go. All right, there's something going on there. You can leave the investigative journalism to us. We'll get going on what's going on behind closed doors in those special teams meetings. Coach, the other thing I feel like that's going to become like a little bit of folklore coming out of this game, I saw Tommy Rees, your offensive coordinator, doing the interview where he talked about going down to the field to celebrate with those guys and looked over at Jared Parker and said, if we got to run another play before I get down there, just call duo. Just go out there and keep running that football. Like, what was that like for you, that moment, seeing Tommy down there, getting to celebrate with Drew and kind of being a part of that?
I didn't get a chance to see it. I heard about it. You know, he had said over the headset, "Coach, can I come down?" I'm like, "Yeah, come down." I said, "Listen, you better hurry up, you know, because I don't know how long the defense will be on the field." And right when he said that, we went into a TV timeout. And I said, "All right, you at least got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Hurry on down." And I guess he made it down in order to before Jared had to call any plays. But you know, I did hear about those moments with him and Drew and him and Mayer and you know what? As I told the media the other day, that's a reflection of the relationship he has with, you know, Drew Pine. And one week it's the media is talking about how Tommy's ripping Drew and yelling at him through a headset or telephone. The next minute we're talking about how they embrace. And that's what I want from our coaches and our players. That's a real relationship. And anybody that's been in a relationship understands it's not always great and not always rough, but it's real and authentic. And that's what I hope was a reflection of that moment with those two.
And Coach, with Tommy, with a lot of your coaching staff, there's been up and downs in this season. There's been a lot of noise from the outside world about people making comments about this staff. Is that something you've had to address at all? Have you guys been able to kind of block that out internally?
You know, that's my message to these guys is that you have to block out the noise. You have to, you know, it can be so loud, and but ultimately we control the volume, right? You don't have to read stuff. You don't have to listen to that. But when you're with me, you understand that you got a head coach that has your back. But I'm also going to push our staff to be better. We have to be better, and it's never how you want it, right? And that it's never as good or as bad as maybe you see it or others will see it. But as long as we stay consistent in our belief, right? This road to where we want to go in life, this road and where we want to go this season is not always as we foresee it on the front end. And I think anybody that's achieved success can look back and say, thank God we didn't make split decisions based off of one game or one moment. You know, this is an up and down road, but we have to continue to traject in a upward trend. And that's what we want to do, and that's what I think we're doing right now.
It's definitely happening along the lines of scrimmage. Coach, you said at the beginning of the season, you know, this is a unit and a team that's led by what goes on in the trenches, but how impressed have you been with the way the offensive lines come together and really become the identity for this team?
It's been really impressive, you know, to see 5 guys really from week 2, because Jarrett Patterson missed week 1, but really 5 guys in there, and the consistency and the cohesiveness of that unit. And Coach Harry Heaston, our offensive line coach, has done a tremendous job. But they're playing with so much confidence. I think early in the year we were trying to figure out. I knew I wanted to be an O-line, D-line driven program. I wanted to be able to run the ball, but we were still trying to figure out what was going to be the best plan for our offense. And it's taken some time. It's taken some losses. It's taken some ups and downs to say, okay, this is where our strengths are at this year. And that's the challenge of any coach is you can have a vision, but you got to understand what's the strength of your team. And you can be so bullheaded that you're trying to do something that might not be a strength. But our strength right now is our O-line and our running backs and ability to run the ball. And then for our quarterback to take advantage of the easy access throws that we're able to get. And then the other strength is obviously we got a tight end that's not too bad that we can throw the ball up and he can make a lot of plays. So that's kind of our strength right now offensively.
Yeah, Coach, Michael Mayer is one of the guys. So I also heard from a little birdie, a.k.a. the interview that you did with my father and Stu Gotts, that apparently you called that touchdown to Michael Mayer. Is that true?
I might have encouraged it. I don't know if I called it. I told Coach Reese, I said, hey, man, listen, let's throw a pop pass. Let's try to throw a pop pass to Mayer. And he was as surprised as anybody else. And he was like, no, let's just keep running. I said, okay, good. Let's run it. You feel good about running the ball. And then right after we ran it again, he said, you sure I can throw the pop pass? And I'm like, sure, whatever. I don't know the play call, but it probably is going to work if you throw something to Mayer. And so he called a great play, a great formation. Like, it's easy to say, throw the ball here, right? That's the easy thing for me to do. But for Coach Reese to call that formation, you snuck Michael Mayer in the backfield and leaked him out, and he was open, wide open. What a great job and a great execution by that offensive staff.
Coach, what stuck out to you about Michael Mayer behind the scenes? Like, I remember early in the season, something that I just noticed as an outsider, when Drew was first inserted and there were some struggles going on with the passing game on offense, a ball sailed over over Michael Mayer's head. And he was the first person running over to Drew on the sideline, kind of putting an arm around him. He's a guy that has so much ahead of him, is going to be such a great NFL player, and has rewritten these record books, who could have looked at this and thought, oh man, my offensive season might take a hit because of how we're producing right now. And that just really struck me as far as a guy who really seemed to get what he meant to this team as a leader. What's he been like behind the scenes for you guys, as there have been some ups and downs in this season?
He's been the true definition of a captain, and a guy that, yes, we know is probably one of the most talented players, but the hardest worker, a great vocal leader for your program. He sets the example. He not only is the example, he sets it for others, and he's been an awesome leader and captain for this football program, and he's exceeded expectation. As hard as it is to say that, he's exceeded expectation. He continues to get better and better.
What was that message from him and the other leaders of the team when this season did hit some turbulence? Because I've talked about from the outside, besides the freshmen on this team, the rest of the guys had never done anything but win double-digit games in their Notre Dame career. There hadn't been a lot of that kind of turbulence as of late. So how did you see those guys manage that internally in that locker room?
Well, I think it was their ability to really just stay together, trust each other, continue to believe in the things that, we were preaching as a coaching staff, but also the ability to say we have to enhance. We can't just trust the process. We have to fix it and to really put in that intentional work and block out the noise. It's easy to be a leader when things are going well, but I challenge those guys when things aren't going so well. That's when our leadership will show, and they've done a great job of continuing to lead through the good and the bad.
Coach, what's the biggest thing for you you mentioned challenging everything and elevating that standard. What's the biggest thing for you in year one as a head coach that from week one until now you feel like you've gotten a better handle on or feel like you're doing in a better way now?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, as I said earlier, is that understand that the vision you have before the season starts, it's never going to be like that. And when we imagine being national champions, or we imagine the success that we're going to have, you don't imagine some of those difficult moments that you have, but the ability to handle them, the ability to be a leader when things aren't going well, and the ability to know where you're going. I know where this program's going. I've always known where this program's going. Did I know exactly how we were going to get there? No. Did I think it was going to be at a point that you've lost 3 games this season? No. But you know what? It doesn't mean that we can't get to where we want to go. But that road isn't as smooth as we always foresee it. The ability to really manage during those ups and downs is what real leadership means. And I'm learning every day what it means to lead, and especially at a place like this.
Coach, you mentioned it's Navy week. You have a lot of familiarity with them from playing in the American against them when you were at Cincinnati as a coach, now at Notre Dame. What's the message to this team this week against Navy, and really for the next couple of weeks, as now you don't get opponents with a number attached to their name on the left-hand side? These aren't the big, high-profile ranked matchups that everyone could maybe naturally get up for.
Well, I think the message will continue to be the same that it's been. It's never been about the opponents, been about us and our execution and our improvement. And, you look at the Marshall game, the Stanford games, even some of those games we won, it's a lot of it has been about us and our mistakes or our, execution of the game plan. And that's what it will be this week. We're going to have to make sure that we're ready to go. We prepare the right way, and then we go out Saturday and we play to our standard of Notre Dame football. Because when we do, we can beat any team in the country. But when we don't, we can lose any team in the country. And we have to make sure that we are really dictating the outcome by the way we perform.
Awesome, Coach. Really looking forward to it. Always appreciate you giving us some time and catching up here. I look forward to seeing the Christmas decorations up in your office the next time we talk.
All right, Mike. Look forward to seeing you in South Bend soon, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.